Got the Duke sweatshirt on again.
Yep, I see
Got
that.
a comment yesterday from Phil. He said, "No Duke shirt."
Yeah, I
And
didn't even notice it yesterday.
yeah, I didn't forget. I was just trying not to gloat and jinx everything because
Right.
now we have St. John's in the Sweet 16, and
Mhm.
but the sweatshirt is on because it was chilly today
Yeah.
in Wilmington in the upper 40s, and a little chill in the house, and I had to take the kids to school, and plus I'm down, like I said, 30 to 35 pounds, and that much less
Right.
fat, you tend to get colder
Oh, it
quicker.
does. I know how that works. When I lost a bunch of weight when I was 18, roughly, and then having to deal with winter being real thin again.
Right.
Now I got the fat stores on for winter, so gonna have
All
to
right.
take care of that here in the weeks coming.
Trying to get rid of my fat stores. So this
Good idea.
sweatshirt used to be, it was my father's, and it's probably, I mean, it's ancient. It's already starting to come apart.
I have a Penn State sweater that's very similar to that. It's that vintage,
Yeah.
Yeah. That was my grandfather's, actually. Even though he never went to Penn State, he was a season ticket holder, huge football fan, but hated Joe Paterno. Figure that one out.
Right. Well, Duke's in the Sweet 16, and it is March Madness. We got severe weather coming back. We're going to talk about that in the U.S. and the Strait of Hormuz in the news lately. And we're going to get into the news and weather, and we'll do all that and more on today's Talking Weather. See you guys after the intro.
Let's do it.
I love it. You can hear the dove or whatever it is.
That just came through. Yeah, it was a morning dove.
This is right. It's like quiet with CJ.
Yeah, it's very peaceful here.
Very peaceful.
I'll give you guys a view. So I've been we're in the middle of moving. So until our new apartment's ready, we're with my grandparents, and I'm out on their lanai this morning. Let me see if I can get it to where it won't. I can give you guys a view. That's what I get to see this morning.
Nice.
It's very quiet. Just every so often you see a fish jump up in the pond, and maybe every so often a nice gator go past.
A nice gator. All right.
One of those nice gators. He's our neighborhood gator.
Right.
He keeps keeps some things in check. I will say, one time we came out here, there were two bobcats fighting just across, and I will tell you, if you have never heard two bobcats fighting each other, it sounds like two children are being drowned in a pond.
Wow.
It's a horrifying
images to try to man.
It's just gnarly.
The lanai. How'd that do during Ian, by the way?
So believe it or not, none of our aluminum here. So we had the wind coming at the back of the house.
Yeah.
None of the aluminum here actually came off. There were several in this community that got taken off, obviously, but this one held. It's original to the house. The builders here did great. And the only real damage we had in this back area, besides, screens, we definitely lost screens. Like
Right.
they did on this house. I say they did. But the wind was so strong, Mark. There's a fan because it's covered. It ripped the fan out of the ceiling and threw it into these sliders next to me. We have shutters that go across, metal shutters. But this house, man, it'll survive the atomic bomb. It's solid concrete.
Hey, don't tempt it.
No, I mean, but I will tell you, it's
Oh,
sturdy.
good. Yeah. Hurricane tested.
Yeah.
Don't forget to mute your Discord before Howard flies over here from Bermuda and mutes it for you.
Right. All right. It's closed out, so you shouldn't hear anything.
There you go. And Howard's back there in Bermuda going, yes, thank you.
I'm going to get one of those.
For today. By the way, welcome to Talking Weather, everybody. Tuesday, the 24th day of March, 2026. What do we got today? Middle East severe weather. I mean, wow, lots more talk about this from some people that you guys know. So we're going to discuss it, considering all the other shenanigans going on over there. 3 years since Rolling Fork, and CJ will talk more about that than I will. But a very violent tornado, a deadly tornado, and we have to learn from these. And so we're going to discuss that. Yep. And right on time, of course, it is. It's always severe weather season in the lower 48, but there is more of a active season than not, obviously. And severe weather chances, they ebb and flow this time of year, and they're getting ready to flow again after ebbing. Right. And it's Tech Tuesday, and I got a pretty cool one for you that just came out of left field.
Awesome.
Almost. You'll see. And no, it's not baseball related. That was not a pun. All right. National high and low temperatures for yesterday. We're doing pretty well. All right. Got 11 degrees now for the high.
Look at that.
So we're getting there. I'm going to be so excited. We're going to have some kind of a special thing in the office here for when our low temperature is above freezing.
Right.
And I got to figure out what I'm going to do. Will it be some special soundboard sound effect, a GIF animation, a meme? We'll see. Maybe I'll have a small piece of cheesecake or something to eat on the air to celebrate that we're finally above freezing for our national low. But we're not there yet, so no cheesecake for me. It's never too early for cheesecake, is it, CJ?
Nah, I don't know. I don't think so.
Anyway, so the national high, we'll start with that. We'll get to the low in a minute. 102 in, I guess that's Tecopa, California, and that's not too far from Pahrump, Nevada, actually. Right. Look it up. And then we have visited Indus, Minnesota before, virtually, and 11, though, for the national low. So here's Tecopa, and you got Tecopa Hot Springs, Villa Anita DV, whatever that is, Tecopa Mines. This is out there. As we pan out, zoom out. There's the Spring Mountains, and you got Pahrump sitting out here. There's Blue Diamond. There's Vegas. So it's on the way to Death Valley. And this is what it looks like. Freaking amazing. Yeah.
It's almost like it's fake if you go back to that. Yeah. That, I mean, it just the way the mountain, it's like a kid drew, draw me a horizon with mountains. That's what mine would look like.
You could totally see Bob Ross with his knife doing the mountain. Just get your knife out there and a little scrape it and whatever. Yep. So these are some other scenes from around the area. The old Southwest. So my computer is talking to me. Hopefully it doesn't mean something bad is happening. Are you still with me?
I'm still here.
Okay, good, because it did that da-ding. It scares the hell out of me every time my computer makes a noise. I like this kind of stuff, that old Route 66 look. And this is not Route 66. I know that. But it's just something neat about that. And I do a VR bowling game on my Meta Quest, which, by the way, they're shutting down the $80 billion Meta Horizons world and the whole metaverse. Gone. Like, dude, Zuckerberg, we could have taken just $1 million of that 80 billion and done some cool stuff with the weather, bro. God.
Mhm.
But I still have my bowling, and this reminds me of one of the. If you guys have premium bowling on your Meta, they've got this Route 66 gas station bowling alley out in the middle of Route 66. It's so cool, and it looks like it. Anyway, I'm off topic, but whatever. 102, is that what it said? I guess I should. Yeah,
Yeah.
102 there
102.
yesterday. So let's look at it from the street view and see what interesting things show up out here. Where the heck did it go? I've already lost it. Hold on, let me go back to Copa. Been screwing around. There we go. All right. So Tacopa,
There it
take
is.
two. Let's just go right down in the middle of it, shall we? And nice bush. And there you go. Oh, yeah. This is exactly what I expected it to look like. And you can smell the desert. Those of you that know, you know. You know, even when it's hot like this, it's sort of a sage, ammonia type smell because of all the
Really?
critters. And I know that sounds disgusting, but everything gets frozen out there, so to speak.
Right.
All the poop and pee from the critters, and then you have the sage and the other desert stuff, and it creates this interesting desert funk. Maybe that's what Don Henley meant when he said the warm smell of colitis rising up from the whatever in Hotel California. Isn't that the line? I think it is.
Something like that, I think.
So this is from September of last year that they took this. You can get a good deal on a John Deere. It might, I will ransom them from the power of the grave. I will redeem them from death. Hosea.
Hosea,
sorry.
Yeah, it's a Bible verse.
All right.
Like.
So
maybe that's a church, Mark.
That's a church.
That's what that is. That's a church.
You say that's not a church. That's a tractor.
No, but the sign
That's
is for the church.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right. Anyway, 102 out here because of the big heat dome. That's part of the reason why we do this, not just for my benefit, although I like it. Geographically, this is cool. You can visit these places. What a world we live in. Just amazing.
Yep.
So it's on the other side of Pahrump, Nevada, and Blue Diamond in Vegas. So not too far from Death Valley, which I've been there a couple times. Did a live stream.
Right.
Funny story. Let's unshare just for a second because it's story time with Mark real quick. 2023, I was out there, and it was when we first got our Starlink. And you might remember this, CJ. I was out there with Matt and Clemens and Paul from Pahrump, and it was like 130 degrees or something like that at Death Valley. And we decided, we set up the Starlink. This is the old one. Now we have Starlink Mini, and we have two of them, and it's just ubiquitous, it seems. Went to Death Valley, went to the visitor center, and I was going to do a live hit. I had a little thermal infrared thing from Paul.
Right, I remember that.
Show the ground temperature was like 180. And it was so hot out there. Johnny Carson used to have a bit, and the audience would go, "How hot was it?" All you people that are my age and older and whatever, you might remember that. It was so hot that the iPhone, which was on a little handle thing, like a monopod, so I could stand there and do the chat with Ian Oliver on Fox Weather, it shut off from the heat, like seconds once, because the Fox control room calls me over FaceTime. You've been there, you've seen it. It all gets set up. And then there's a few minutes that I have to wait until they put me on. And the iPhone died in the heat coming off that pavement. My shoes were starting to get kind of gooey from the pavement. And the Tacoma that we had rented started steaming and smoking. I'm not kidding. We're like, really? We're going to burn down the Death Valley Visitor Center, maybe live on Fox Weather, if this truck catches on fire. Like, it was really scary. Paul put the iPhone in the cooler that he brought. We literally put the iPhone on ice, got everything up and running again, Starlink back online, and I got on the hit 2 minutes before Ian was ready to take me, and I did a live hit from Death Valley Visitor Center at 130-something degrees.
Right. Wow.
All right. So there's that. So I'm trying to remember. I got us on the dual thing. You say I got to put it on this to do the screen share?
Yeah, you got it.
All right. But that just looks weird for now. So I got to make sure I go back and do this for when we're bantering.
Yes.
Okay. I don't know why
Correct.
oh, there we go. I see. Just too much going on. Let's get back to it. Let's see where the national low temperature was. Yes, entire screen and allow. And there we go. So we'll say goodbye to our friends in Tecopa, or however you say that, California. Oh, there it is. Oh, dude, we finally found one. You see it? Did I lose
Oh, a
you?
mesonet. Yeah, sorry, I was looking at a different screen for a second. Yeah, wow, look at that, a mesonet.
So
Love
I
it.
wonder where the temperature came from. There you go. We
Well,
found
yeah,
one.
look at that. That's awesome.
All the times we've been doing
And
this,
it's
we have
right
never
next to the post office.
right. So
That's
dude, next
funny.
time I'm out there for the monsoon, I need to go by and get my picture taken with it. I'm dead serious. I'll be out there
That's awesome.
and we'll get a picture in Tecopa, however you say it, California.
Tecopa is how I would say it.
Sure. And I can mail something to somebody from the post office while I'm at it.
That's awesome.
I like that. I'm dead serious, and I'll do it because me and CJ, we're all about the nerdy weather geek stuff, and that is
100%.
awesome. That's awesome. It's looks like about a 5-meter tower. I've got sections just like that left over from our early weather station days. But anyway, let's move along. Indus, Minnesota. 11. Sorry, it was 5 yesterday at Mount Washington. 11 here in Indus.
Yep.
And it's just across the street from Canada. And
Yeah.
the Emo Health Center is over there. You got Emo Inn. That's Canada. Let's take a look at the Indus area. And I remember this from before.
Yeah.
Just not much happening. Just lots of trees.
It's a very pretty area. Look, all the way back in 2008.
Dude, really? Wow.
I was in junior high.
Snow. This is November. There's a little snow on the ground.
My currently 17-year-old sister wasn't even born yet.
Man, this is from 2008 they were doing this.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Wow.
November 2008.
Well, there it is. It was 11 plus on the plus side. 11.
Hey, we're at least in the positives. That's what matters.
Exactly. We're making progress there. And again, I'm serious. Once it's so old and so bad that it's like 8-bit.
Yeah.
No 4K.
Back then, this was state of the art, man.
Right.
State of the art.
Well, Google, I mean, come on. Like they were doing this back in 2008. That is pretty remarkable. Wow.
That is so cool.
All right. Let's move along real quick. I will show you guys a neat tweet. And let's get over here. There's Mark with his neat tweets that CJ crafted up. Hey, everybody. Time for Mark's neat tweets.
Yes.
All right. So I got one for you folks today. This was pretty good. You might have been seeing an awful lot on your algorithm lately about meteors and fireballs. Yeah, fireball. So this is a one of these aggregate sites. I think it's from India that takes people's video and it's engagement, whatever. But it showed up, and I thought I'd show you folks. Lots of meteor activity lately. Some speculation that it could be an uncharted, previously undocumented meteor shower. Unfortunately, I am not good friends with Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson. Otherwise, we'd call him up and ask him his opinion on this. Or it could be just random sporadic meteors. And we have so many cameras everywhere that we happen to catch
seeing them now.
Yeah.
And, Mark, I was thinking about this myself. It's because they're over such a populated area. It's just, I think it's the pure luck.
Right.
The big thing, what was this, last week?
Yep.
With the one that over Ohio that everybody saw from Pittsburgh, Youngstown, whatever.
Yep. And there it is.
That's, they're coming into these bigger cities right now, and there you go.
Yeah.
I don't think this is any War of the Worlds type stuff. It's really neat. The bolides, as they're called.
Yeah, exactly. So this is normal, Miss Klobuchar.
It happens all the time.
Exactly.
The Earth is constantly getting bombarded by space rocks. It's just, we obviously hope that none of them are as large as the one that hit 66 million years
right.
ago.
In fact, keep them bus size and under, and we're good. There's a
Exactly.
couple really bright ones lately, but it might be some uncharted leftovers from an asteroid collision and
Hey, listen.
so forth.
Right.
But lots of cameras now on this here planet, always looking, always watching. So there you go. All right. Not so neat. We'll move from neat tweets to not good.
Yeah.
We should have create one not good tweets.
Yeah.
So I've showed a lot from Brody here lately. Remember, Brody is the one doing weather and Chinese. Pretty amazing. So these are different charts for the snow depth and your peak. The highest. What year was that? Let's see if I can. Doesn't have it delineated. That's fine. Bottom line. Let's get our telestrator out. We are way below. That's where we are now. And it's going down, and we are just so low, it's ridiculous. 2021's in there. The median, we're below that. I mean, obviously, the snow melt commencing big time, unfortunately. And where is this from? Hold on, let me go back. So Utah, New Mexico, Colorado, and Arizona. So Utah, New Mexico, Colorado, Arizona, everybody having the snow melt commencing. And I'm telling you, we're going to have to pay the piper later on because this is really, really bad. All right. So Mark's doom and gloom. Sorry. Got to talk about it. This is not good news at all, CJ. Here's one here for New Mexico. Another view of it. Just terrible. And, people asking about this. Do you think we'll get, we are due for a cold front, or we're just going to ride this through October? People are sick of it already, and it's only late March.
Yep.
So there's that. So today's the 3rd anniversary of the Rolling Fork tornado. And I thought I'd talk about this. This popped up on my timeline as well. This is what we talk about when we, think about what we don't want to see. That Mother Nature is amazing. Tornadoes are an absolute incredible thing to see. But when they do this kind of damage and take the lives that this took, it's terrible. It really, really is. And it makes the science part not fun at all. It just ruins it for everybody. So they got a Wikipedia page, and I know that CJ's forte is severe weather, despite living in Hurricaneville.
Right.
You'll get there.
I'm getting there, slowly but surely.
So let's talk about it.
Yeah.
The setup, everything. Wikipedia generally does a great job of archiving this kind of stuff. So
yeah,
the floor is yours, Mr. Morgan.
Mark, this was a very quintessential Dixie Alley type of outbreak. A lot of people actually weren't sure that this day was going to produce. As the day went on, there was pretty, widespread storm coverage, and there was a question, are any of these really going to get going? Then it became very, apparent this is going to be an after dark scenario, which unfortunately did end up verifying there in that moderate risk that was centered around the Arklamis region down there, like Greenville, Mississippi, Monroe, Louisiana, southeastern Arkansas. And as the day progressed into the evening, a single cell became established over portions of, I believe, that the cell that was responsible for Rolling Fork formed over northeast Louisiana.
Yeah.
And it traveled up and went across the Mississippi River, and it ended up dropping a very intense tornado that unfortunately directly impacted the small town of Rolling Fork there in the Mississippi Delta. There were plenty of chasers that were following it.
At night,
you had,
too.
It was at night. There were a couple of chasers that were impacted. There's a really good documentary on this tornado specifically that's on the Discovery Channel. It's called In the Eye of the Storm.
Yeah.
And they do a documentary on this tornado. And, one of the most remarkable things about it, I think for me, is that, just the sheer devastation and how wrapped up it looked on radar. This really was about as close as you can get to an EF5 without being an EF5. It was a 195 mile per hour EF4, and it hit in the dark of night.
Is it part of an overall QLCS? Because
So
it's
these
not
were
just by itself out here. This is kind of a
no,
cluster.
these were semi-discrete cells
There you
up
go. Some
in
discrete thing.
front
Right.
of a ongoing QLCS. Very typical Dixie Alley early season setup. And unfortunately, 17 people would go on to lose their lives in this singular tornado of that day. It was the deadliest, I believe, of the day. It was one of the deadliest in, recently there in Mississippi. And it was one of the strongest tornadoes to recently impact Mississippi. You have to go back, I believe, to the Bassfield Soso EF4 to find something comparable. And unfortunately, Mark, and if you can actually go up a little bit, there was an
Yes.
interesting. So it talks about, and I know this is kind of morbid. A lot of people don't want to hear about this, but this kind of tells us what was going on there and how some of these folks had lost their lives. You have 10 of the 17 that were killed in a mobile home. And
Right.
unfortunately, that's just the reality, especially here in the South. It was just devastating. Um, and you had four that were killed in a permanent that's a site built home, one that's
Right.
built to its foundation, and that could have been maybe they weren't in the right place. I mean, it could have just been their time.
Sure.
You had two that were killed in a business and one that was killed in a vehicle. And there's actually video. Ethan Moriarty of June 1st did a really good thing on the breakdown of this tornado because there were several chasers that had noticed in their footage what appeared to be headlights orbiting the tornado. You can see
Oh,
this vehicle get picked up and you just see the light kind of circle it and then land. Um, and that kind of I mean, it just
terrifying,
absolutely
dude.
horrifying.
Sure.
And again, this all happened in the dark of night.
Yeah.
A lot of folks, myself included, I talk about tornadoes. They're so fast, right? It happens so quickly. But the lead time on this warning was great. Um, there were issues. There it was well known ahead of this that the tornado was going, to be in the vicinity of Rolling Fork. But based on some of the chasers that were there, based on their recounts, it looks like the tornado deviated slightly from its path. It appeared it was going to miss the town, and
Yeah.
then unfortunately took a turn at the last minute and ended up going right through the center of the town.
Goodness gracious. Well, 3 years ago today,
Mm-hmm.
um, and we'll talk with Jen more about this on Thursday when we do our checking in
Right.
with Jen segment. But at night, that's the thing. I mean, some of my recurring nightmares
Mm-hmm.
over my lifetime have been about tornadoes,
Mm-hmm.
that and lightning and snakes, but story for
Like,
another day.
yeah.
But this is it's truly terrifying, and it's
Mm-hmm.
modern. It's 3 years ago. We were in
Yeah.
the
This
age
isn't.
of live streaming, and wasn't this the one that really put Ryan Hall on the map, so to speak, if I'm not mistaken?
It
I'm
might
sure
have
there's
been.
going to
I
be
don't
a
know.
documentary about him someday.
I'm not sure if I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't follow his
I heard that
work, so I
somewhere.
don't know.
Right.
But I can tell you that Freddie McKinney was
Yeah.
there, and
Oh,
they
Freddie.
actually actively worked
Sure.
in search and rescue. They had a woman that they had put in their car and drove to a hospital. They in this that's one of those scenarios, Mark, that the chase is done
Yeah.
at that point. And any of you chasers that are looking, yeah, Katie, Katie Smith, I saw her comment that she worked search and rescue there. And she pointed out this was a weird scenario where the tornado actually drifted to the left rather than turning right when it attempted to occlude. And I
Right.
think that had something to do with the merger of the cell directly to the southwest of it. I'm not 100% certain. I'm not that deep into the meteorology of it. We may have to page Mr.
Camera.
Cameron Nixon
Yeah.
there to get the final, outcome on that. But especially because I wasn't there, I remember watching. I
Yeah,
believe
me too. It's
I was
horrifying.
watching Fox Weather. I think you and I were like
Yep.
the equivalent of live tweeting,
Yeah.
talking as this event was ongoing. And I think there's few tornadoes out there that I would be willing to pick up and argue this should have been rated an EF5.
Right.
Everybody has their opinions on the enhanced Fujita scale. The folks there at the National Weather Service office in Jackson, Mississippi do a fantastic job. Um, the just the utter devastation to this town and the amount of scarring it did to the surrounding landscape.
Sure.
This is one of the few that I would argue has a legitimate case.
And there was a
of
big debate still
it should
going
have
on.
been. Yeah, and there still is. The
Yeah.
other two, just for everybody's, here's your fun fact, that I would argue there's three. Well, four if you count El Reno, but that's
Right.
been debated a million times. We're not going back to that. There's three. The first one is that I'm going to go most to like oldest, earliest to, most recent to least recent. First would be Rolling Fork. The second would be Mayfield, the Western Kentucky tornado. I still, to my bones, I just don't think it hit anything to cause but I can tell you that had to have been an EF5.
Sure.
I mean, there's nothing in my mind that tells me it wasn't. And then number 3 is Rochelle Fairdale, Illinois from 2015.
CJ knows the tornadoes. Trying to get my tongue to work with my brain.
As long as they're recent, roughly,
sure, right.
more important.
Like me with the hurricanes, I can generally recall them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Brandon's right. The winds of a tornado are actually stronger and they're more concentrated. That's the thing. You're really taking that conservation of angular momentum down to an incredible micro, area, so to speak, on the surface of the earth.
Right.
The hurricane is a lot more spread out.
Right.
But yeah, 3 years to the day, and we're getting ready to get back into a severe weather type pattern, and that's going to get more prevalent. So thought we'd bring it up because it's important to remember, even if sometimes the remembering can be painful. We don't want to ignore it.
Exactly.
Right? We've got to learn from it, especially the fact that it happened at night and in such a rural area, and the work that still needs to be done to just get people to be in tune with the weather. We got to save your lives. That is the number one goal. Everybody in the weather enterprise, all the weather geeks, people that get paid to do it, weather service, you name it. With all this technology we got to get these numbers to zero. We really do.
Right.
All right. Anything else about it before we move along, Mr. Morgan?
Negative.
Rolling Fork, 3 years ago. I'm sure there's going to be remembrances up there and local media, so forth and so on. Again, we'll talk about it some more with Jen when we check in with her on Thursday. So right now, good news, great news. Lower 48, still looking really nice. Hawaii, though, man, I've seen some other stuff from Robert Ray out there on Fox Weather. They are still getting hammered with flooding. He had some just incredible video yesterday that he posted that it looked like something out of like Jurassic Park or something. And I know that parts of Oahu are like that. I was there back in 2018. Parts of the island are like New Mexico. And then, on the leeward side, the windward side, it looks just like you would see at the opening there of Jurassic Park when they fly in and they're landing and they're getting ready to go do their little adventures, chasing the dinosaurs. That's where they shot it, of course, was out there in the western parts of the Hawaiian Islands. But they're still under the gun from some pretty nasty weather. Overall, This is a pretty big map of the Pacific. There's Hawaii right there. You can see my mouse moving around, hopefully. Finally, some higher pressure moving in, but the trailing front there that you can see stationary down near Hawaii, and the moisture and whatnot still lingers. Thus, the flood watches, the flood warnings, so forth and so on. The rest of the lower 48, though, CJ, finally, a nice calm period. But let me break out the telestrator, and we will use the color yellow. Oh, that's blue. Darn it. Yellow. There it is. So I'm going to draw my own pollen map. There we go. Pretty much everybody in here, you're just done for. The pollen, we were up in Raleigh yesterday, Broughton High School. My son had another tennis match. And just the pollen wafting through the air. There was pollen dust devils, like clouds of pollen. The front moved through. We were coming home, my wife and I. Josh took the bus. By the way, that is such a great part of being a high school kid. You take the bus home from your high school activity, whether it's band, football, basketball, baseball, soccer, tennis. What a great part of being a kid. It really is. I remember some of that from a long time ago. But coming down 40, as the evening wore on, and you can see that front coming through, that cold air advection, I'm not kidding, dude. Just clouds of pollen wafting
Yep.
up into the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Horrible. And my Tacoma, it's stupid.
Yep.
It's just crazy. I don't remember
Yellow
it
now.
being this bad. Like, it is really bad. And I'm seriously like, I'm psyching myself up, coughing. Anyway, maybe tomorrow we'll get like a pollen map or something going, because it is somewhat related to the weather. So why not?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
It's a
So
PDS pollen warning until
I'm serious.
November.
This is just a tickle in my throat. It's just unfortunate timing.
Mm-hmm.
Fire weather continues out here in parts of the plains, Nebraska and Wyoming.
Fire.
Yes, it's really, really bad out there. My guess is Robert leaves Hawaii and travels to Nebraska. After all, that's where he is from, if I'm not mistaken. I bet you we see Robert. Yeah. I bet he pops up out in Nebraska. But it's looking pretty good right now overall. But that's going to change. Before we get to that, though, this is a big story.
It is. It's very interesting.
Yeah, meteorologically, if there wasn't all the stuff going on with Iran and so forth, this would still be really fascinating from a meteorological perspective. But now that we have all of that going on, we need to talk about it. So here you go. Ben Knoll, first up. Powerful storm forming in the Middle East is forecast to drop a year's worth of rain in parts of the United Arab Emirates, the UAE, Oman, Iran, Yemen, and Saudi Arabia this week. Flooding could be a big problem. We're looking at this mainly on Thursday-ish. And, I mean, Ben Knoll making maps for the Middle East. I remember he did COVID tracking maps back in 2020.
Right.
Never want to see that again, but hey,
exactly.
Right. We can track the rain, potentially 6+ inches of rain in parts of Iran. And you mentioned this yesterday, CJ, that the mountains there, with the orographic lift, could help wring some of that out. You got Iraq, Kuwait, and the Arabian Peninsula down to Oman and Yemen. So yeah, this could be problematic to say the least. Tomer Berg, of course, you're going to get amazing analysis and maps from Tomer.
Of course.
If I ever win that big time Powerball, buddy, we're going to offer Tomer a job. And we will have our own little weather company. It is going to happen. He is amazing with this stuff. He really is a great communicator. And so, yeah, they're about to get extremely stormy from a weather perspective, that is.
Yeah.
You know, truth be told, I almost put my thumbnail as saying I was going to use Desert Storm, but I thought, nah, not
yeah, probably not in the best taste right now.
Exactly. No puns needed there.
Yeah.
Deep trough over Egypt and Saudi Arabia is expected to force a severe weather outbreak and torrential rain capable of extreme flooding over the UAE, parts of Iran, and the Strait of Hormuz, even there. So, you know, you can honestly see back in biblical times, before we understood the weather, when you had something like this happening with any kind of conflicts that went on, and it's been going on for thousands of years.
Right.
You probably can see where a lot of the stories come from in the ancient scripts that we have from the Bible to other manuscripts. Seriously, like, this is a big, unusual situation.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, Mark, you would typically find something like this, you know, being that Asia is just such a giant continent, right? You would typically see something like this over northern China, and the steppes of, you know, Mongolia actually gets a lot of tornadoes. Just not a lot of them get reported or recorded because nobody lives outside of Ulaanbaatar for the most part. It's a very, very low population density. And this is something you would typically see further to the west or east. But this system, it's going to ramp up. And again, it's not surprising. That area is well within the subtropics. It's actually not as far south as people here in the U.S. may think. We're about in Florida, where I think we're further south.
There's
just
30
far south.
I mean, Tomer with these great, this is from Tidbits here, but
this is Tidbits, but still.
There it is, 30 degrees north. That's Jacksonville.
Yep, that's Jacksonville. So, you know, you're looking at the majority of the Florida Peninsula is
all
in southern Egypt, you know.
Exactly.
I mean, I live at like 27 north or something like that. But, you know, it's just, it's a good point to have, because this area is desert, but it's the subtropics still. So you can still get this. It's just not as common because usually there's not as much moisture coming in off the Mediterranean. It's more of a dry atmosphere. But hey, even Arizona has tornadoes. So it is a possibility.
And look at the very heavy rain right over the Strait of Hormuz. Like, seriously?
Yep.
Oh, we don't need that. But you got a mountain range that runs through here in parts of southwestern Iran. And so this is going to be a big story. And again, with the prevalence of social media all throughout this region, we'll probably see. But be careful. Yeah. Be careful of the AI-generated shenanigans, because that'll happen. They're even using that. We'll dive a little bit into geopolitics. It's interesting how AI has even been used in sort of the psychological warfare between the Iran regime and the president of the United States. It's just crazy. And it's going to spill over into the weather world more. You're going to see some wild stuff coming out that's real. And we'll have to do a probably Thursday, Friday, definitely going to have a don't believe your eyes segment.
And I think I read somebody in the comments had mentioned that, they had read something that people thinking it's cloud seeding. If I'm being honest with you, I mean, I'm against weather modification personally. I say let the atmosphere do its thing, because if we start messing with Mother Nature, everything's going to go sideways. That's just how I personally feel.
Right.
I don't think that cloud seeding could affect this type of a setup, because you're talking about a pattern that this would have developed way far out over the Mediterranean. It's just they're getting
large this cutoff is. All of this is energy.
Cloud seeding
to do with cloud seeding. Cloud seeding is going to be very local, very local.
Very local scale. Now, I know the UAE does do it though, Mark.
Right.
I can tell you 100%. Could that make it locally heavier in the UAE? Perhaps.
But you wouldn't want to mess with anything like this. The energy, the dynamics, the turbulence.
This kind of a setup,
this probably even ground the military.
I don't even think we have, given our current energy consumption.
Right.
We're not even a 1 on the Kardashev scale.
Right.
So I don't even think as a species.
We're giving ourselves too much credit sometimes, people.
Yeah. I don't even think we could harness that much energy to influence it. Just because, like I said, in this case, it's just a very long wave type of pattern. I mean, you can literally see these types of things develop over the United States. It's just odd that it's climaxing at this point, which is over the Middle East.
I think Ben did that. Let me go back. I think he put it over the United States. Is that him that did this?
No, that was Tomer that did it.
Oh, you saw Tomer do it?
If you go to my
over here. There it is.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty cool that he was able to do that.
Yeah.
So he did, he photoshopped the U.S. states on top of the Middle East vorticity precip setup. Yeah. And this is no different than what we would see over the lower 48. So
it's this time of year. And again, it's just interesting. If you move that a bit further south, Mark, I think that's what he should have done. He should have probably put it on a better latitude, but that's a South Plains outbreak.
Yep, you're right.
Or a Dixie Alley outbreak, to be completely truthful with you.
Sure. And Andrew Brady here, and I am going to reach out to him and get him on again once things are more, not that they're not calm now, but I'm getting ready to go into conference season and so forth and so on. But later in April, we're going to ask Andrew Brady to come on and talk about StormNet. So he says here, did you know that StormNet can also be run internationally? We can run it for anywhere in the world. Here's StormNet's tornado and lightning forecast for the Middle East on Thursday. How about that? So the StormNet AI, the StormNet app. So this is your tornado probabilities, and they are almost into the very high in parts of, and this is interesting because it's right over the Gulf.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and again, that doesn't surprise me. The Persian Gulf is very warm. It's also very humid in that area. It's remarkable that that there's deserts there because of how humid the atmosphere is in this part of the world.
Right.
But it's there's other factors at play. But yeah, I mean, it's
big time
lightning. Doesn't surprise me. Yeah, a lot of lightning again doesn't surprise me.
Well, this would be an interesting story to follow. We'll stay on top of it. This happens Thursday. This is when everything seems to be coming together out that way. But with everything going on, and even if it wasn't, this would still be a big story.
Right.
So it will be interesting to see how it affects things, especially that a lot of this is concentrated, perhaps Ironically, unironically, I don't know, right over and near the Strait of Hormuz. It's like, seriously?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. On to the lower 48. Not much.
No, not much today. We're looking at potential for some storms over the Olympic Peninsula. And again, these are just general thunderstorms. So over the Olympic Peninsula of the Northwest,
Yep.
and then over the Florida Peninsula. So it's a peninsular kind of day.
There you go.
When it comes to our storm chances here in the U.S., literally as far apart from as you can get from each other in the corners.
The northwest and the southeast corners of the lower 48.
Yep.
Tomorrow, we double it. 4 areas.
We double it. I'm glad to see some storms, down here in Florida, as well as over parts of the Pacific Northwest, the Front Range, as well as the Ohio Valley and Great Lakes vicinity. So again, just general thunderstorm development, something to be aware of.
Now, this bothers me just a little bit because it's so dryish out here.
Right. I know exactly what I was about to say. Yeah.
Could start to see some of that dry thunderstorm stuff. We're going to talk about that more when we get into the true warm season and so forth and so on. So day three, however, more interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually have the potential for some more widespread severe thunderstorms. The SPC is going with a day 3 slight risk for these. You're going to have pretty strong forcing along the frontal boundary. But I want to, make a note that they're talking about convective bands.
Right.
In the upscale growth. So I'm really thinking this is going to be more more of a QLCS event. But if there's any, where's it saying here? There's going to be lingering prefrontal capping. So as long as that holds, you could see some semi-discrete supercells fire up out ahead of the line. And if it does, those areas, there will be actually a threat for sustained supercells with, significant hail. Perhaps some of a tornado threat could emerge. So, we're still a couple of days out, but what I would state is that if you live in these areas, anywhere in that slight risk, just have a plan, have something in place. We've seen more come from less. And then obviously just pay attention as the forecast. We'll keep talking about it over the next couple of days.
I wonder if there was a similar forecasting arm for the Middle East, what would the outlook be for UAE and vicinity for Thursday? Probably an enhanced?
I'd say an enhanced or a moderate, maybe, actually, just given how strong the forcing and such is there. But I don't know that it would be a tornado driven. I think it would be more of a high wind threat. But again, I don't know. I'm not too familiar with the geography of that region. So, but I'm sure I don't know what the Iranian regime's, bureaus are, but I'm sure they have some form of a bureau of meteorology. Almost every nation does.
Sure.
So it might be worth checking out. I'll have to do some digging today, Mark, and see how because I know the UAE and Oman were former British protectorates, so English is pretty widespread there. It might be easier to find some information in English.
Very good. Our international meteorological sleuth, CJ Morgan, ladies and gentlemen. Nice.
I don't know about that.
Well, that's good. We have, and with the internet, the entire world is in our pocket.
Right.
Like it or not. All right. Days 4 through 8, nice and quiet for now, but changes are afoot. We talked about that yesterday, and we will address those as they get here. No reason to speculate and worry over something that's not quite ready to be worried about just yet. However, we can look at it from a couple of perspectives on the old Euro here. In fact, you know what? You made the graphic. Let's show it. It's sitting over here. The rumors. There it is. Rumors of storms. How about anything in the algorithm? Not yet. We're not seeing too much. I did see one, though. Maybe I should have pulled it up. That's on me. I didn't. Somebody said something like, if only this wasn't at 264 hours. I don't know if you saw that one.
I didn't see that one pop up in mine yet.
Yep, it was somebody referencing. So let's take a look at what they were talking about on the Euro here anyway. And there we go. So here we got the ECMWF, the Euro. Let's go to the upper dynamics. And let's take this out. This is the 0Z run from last night to around hour 264. And we'll see what they were talking about. Yeah, I mean, a little bit of energy. I mean, it's pretty strong southwesterly flow through here. My goodness.
Yeah, wow. Look at the defluence over the upper Mississippi Valley.
So now this is where we are. pretty much generally zonal, for the most part.
Right.
But then we're going to get into a more, look at that little doodad sitting up. I mean, wow, right there. My yellow doesn't make it show up the way I wanted it to, but a little piece of energy there working its way up towards Southern Cal. It kind of displaces the heat ridge.
Yeah.
And then it works its way in.
Very interesting.
Yeah, that's just weird. In fact, what the hell is that? I should look that up. We'll go to, let's see, Tidbits Home, and we'll animate this. Well, there's not much out there. I was going to say there can't be much convection, and there isn't. But there's clearly some energy sitting out there at the 500 millibar level. That was just weird. Have to go look and see what that was.
Very interesting.
So yeah, you don't really see it on the surface, but it's pretty prevalent. Little piece of energy there. Cold air.
Right.
Little counterclockwise. It's just, sorry, I get distracted easily by meteorological shiny things.
Yeah.
So the pattern changes as we get out beyond a week or so.
Yes, finally that giant ridge.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, the ridge gives way. We get more wavy.
Yeah, finally. Yep. We finally get some more of a wave breaking pattern coming across the continental US. And this is what we were expecting. We've been talking about the potential for early April really to come in with a pretty big, look at that cutoff low. Wow. Woo! Or not a cutoff. I mean, that's just a deep trough.
Yes, it is.
Wow.
Man, the severe weather chances, if this stays around, are really going to amplify over here as this moves its way.
What's the date of that conference down there in South Padre?
So South Padre, we would be, that's when it starts, that day.
Yeah, of course.
Yep.
We just got to, come on, Euro, just keep pushing it out in time.
Well, it's interesting because I'm taking my wife, Rebecca, she's going with me. Josh and Daphne are going, and my son Cole and his new wife, they're going. So there's 6 of us, 6 of the Sudduths.
That'll be fun.
Say that 6 times fast. And it's going to be the spring break adventure for the kids, whatever.
Right, gotcha.
So I'll have to talk to, I'm not going to do this. I'm just joking here. South Padre Island, of course, is right there. Okay. My talk presumably is on Wednesday. It could be Thursday.
Right.
In fact, it probably is Thursday. Wednesday's more Hurricane Center people and like housekeeping stuff related to upcoming model changes, whatever. So I'll probably be speaking Thursday. So that is Tuesday into Wednesday. The Euro doesn't go out farther, unfortunately, or further into time.
Right.
But you can speculate that this will eject farther to the east.
Yes, you can.
Hey, Alex, Tim, me and the kids and the wife, we're going to head up into this area. We'll see you later. Thanks for having me.
Right.
Not in a rental vehicle. Never going to happen. Although, if I stay south, I shouldn't have any hail problems, right?
Exactly. Right.
Hey, CJ, we'll just say this. There's a non-zero chance that I'll go out and after I speak that, hey, kids, Rebecca, Cole, you guys want to go see what Dad does when he's out in the plains?
Right.
And if TSA hasn't just completely, walked off and there's no airplanes flying, you could fly out and meet us.
Right. It'll be interesting. We'll
Non-zero chance. That's all.
Non-zero chance. But anyway, this is definitely something that we want to see going into severe weather season. As storm chasers, obviously, we never root for storms to hit people. I would be more than happy to see a beautiful stovepipe out in the middle of a field where it's just kicking up dust and has nothing to hit.
Scaring the prairie dogs to their below ground quarters and nothing more.
Right.
Maybe Matt would like it because it could tear up a rattlesnake den and rid the earth of that scourge. That's what Matt thinks. I think snakes are very useful, but whatever.
They are very useful.
But we will be watching for this. Seriously, the uptick in severe weather will be coming, and we will be on top of it. And again, 1% chance that Mark departs the conference with the family and goes storm chasing. I'll probably have to take Starlink with me. You never know.
You never know.
It's easy. I can just pack it in my backpack. All right. So for Thursday, let's just go back to this real quick. So there's this, and I'll just slide this over. This just showed up, so I thought I would mention it, especially since CJ knows a lot more about what we're looking at here than I do. Yeah. So Drew, who is Drew, putting God first, not a bad idea. Studying meteorology at CMU. Any idea where Central Michigan University, maybe?
I'm guessing CMU to me means something totally different. Growing up in Pittsburgh, to me, that's Carnegie Mellon.
Well, MI
And
is Michigan Storm Chasers, I would think.
and I do not believe Carnegie Mellon has a meteorology program.
Right.
Fantastic's robotics program, just not a meteorology program.
I storm chase across pure Michigan and the Great Lakes region. Anyway, Drew, on top of it, studying meteorology. So he knows what he's looking at when he sees one of these. I generally understand, but I got a long way to go to look at this like I look at a Hofmoeller diagram and go, oh, my goodness, look at those wind bursts or whatever. I look at this and go, oh, I need an Advil.
Yeah. So I look at this and I see out of this potential, small potential, but potential. I see the potential for, obviously severe weather. And Mark, the photograph up there, I think you're pretty good at those.
Yes.
You can see that. So over on the left, you got that clockwise turning, with wind with height, because, that shows as it goes up. And honestly, the best way to learn these, go on and play around with Pettis's VAD profiler, because it's 3D and it makes everything a lot easier to mentally see.
Let me ask you real quick. What is the red and what is the green? What's going on here?
Those are different levels of the atmosphere. So what happens is you release that weather balloon and it takes samples as it goes up. And that's why there's numbers there. So you have 0, 1 kilometer, 2, they're kilometer markings.
I got you.
So 0 kilometers, 1 kilometers. And for tornadoes, you obviously need in the lower levels of the atmosphere, you need more turning with the winds with height. I do find it interesting, though, that there's almost like a double helix there. I don't know what that's all about, because if you notice on the left, the wind bars, there's almost like a secondary area of rotation there, just in between like the 750 and 500 millibar level. It's very odd. But again, this is a model sounding. It's the NAM, so I'm not going to read too much into it. What this is telling me is that you definitely have a potential.
Yes.
So.
And this is the GFS for what it's worth. And what else do we have? So this is the dew point at 6 feet or 2 meters. And somebody's toast is ready. So 60-degree dew points in late March this far north, that'll do it. That helps the air be buoyant. So, yeah, this is related to what we have coming up on Thursday. And you do have that westerly to west-southwesterly flow over the top. So, yeah, thought I'd throw that in there. Drew is on top of it. And we'll talk more about it. Yes.
Right, we will. I am at my hard stop for today, so I got to get going. But
yeah, it's almost 11.
Yeah, it is. It's almost 11, so I got to get going.
From here, you do the rest of your work.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks, guys. I'm going to jump off real quick, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Bye, CJ. Thank you, sir. All right, so I'll close everything out. Remember, he does have a day job, and whereas weather, thanks to you fine people for 30 years now, is my day job. But we're almost done anyway. So Thursday, interesting severe weather day for the Ohio Valley area. And, of course, as we talked about, the Middle East. All right, let's get us out of here. I got a couple more things to show you, including our Tech Tuesday, which CJ mentioned weather balloons. The weather balloon sounding, that's what that was, what we were showing you, so a simulated sounding. This is our today's Tech Tuesday. I didn't know this. This is an interesting piece of technology. Matt Devitt, of course, no longer at Wink TV, now on his own, and still a huge following on social media. Did you see it? He said, this is from yesterday, a Worldview Stratolite high altitude balloon. This was yesterday, currently passing over South Florida at 52,000 feet. You know, we do weather balloon launching. We've done that for hurricane work over the years. It's been a few since we've done anything with it, but we know a little bit of something about weather balloons ourselves. The balloon uses advanced steering technology to navigate different layers, allowing it to loiter over specific locations for days or even weeks. This makes it valuable for applications like Earth observation, remote sensing, communications, and national security. So can you imagine you're looking up and you see that? It'd be a little like perturbance up in the atmosphere. You can even see our weather balloons. Our weather balloons that we do for our hurricane research they're smaller now because our payloads have gotten smaller because all the technology has gotten smaller. But our weather balloons, at one time, we were launching 1,500-gram balloons. and they would expand with like 113 cubic feet of helium once they got to what we call burst altitude, which is about 100, 103, 105,000 feet. Those weather balloons, ours, would be about the size of a small house. I'm not kidding. All that latex expands, and you'll see sometimes pilots will report that a weather balloon the size of a house just passed us at some vector off to the whatever, hopefully far away. And this, though, is much larger, carrying a much larger payload. In fact, the company, Matt goes on to say, is also developing a human-rated version for near-space tourism. Who wants to go? Not me. I like my feet right on the ground, except when I have to fly somewhere. I'm good. Offering passengers a gradual ascent to the edge of space with panoramic views of Earth's curvature without the intense forces, or rocket launch required for space flight. So I thought this was an interesting piece of tech that you can track. It was actually on the Flight Radar 24, and this balloon came out over the Southeast Gulf, over Florida, southern part of Lake Okeechobee, and different people saw it, took pictures of it, so forth and so on. There you go. Not from China, not one of those. This time, it's all traced back. We know who it belongs to, and an interesting piece of technology for sure. All right, let me jump back over to the chat and see who is on here. Another hurricane update still on for today. Yes, later today. I'm glad you mentioned that, Brandon. And remember, the title of said update is going to be called Unusual Hurricane Season ? Going to be doing that later today. And Brandon knows what I'm talking about when I tell you this. One of the things I'm going to take a look at and show in that recorded video are some of the latest model outputs from the climate models and from the Tidbit site, and just kind of explain why this would be so unusual because of what we have been kind of used to since 2017, that things I think are going to feel a lot different this year. All right. I think that is about it. And I'm not used to being solo. It's been so long, but CJ had to get to his day job, and I will go start working on other stuff on my end as well. All right. We shall be back tomorrow. CJ will join me. And then on Thursday, we have Jen Naramore. We'll talk to her more about the Rolling Fork tornado and the historical, the whole perspective of that, in the historical perspective of where it fits in with everything we're learning now about tornadoes, and her work, of course. And we'll look at the severe weather coming up for the lower 48, and again, what's happening in the Middle East. Until tomorrow, that'll about do it from me and CJ. He's over in Venice doing his thing with his day job. And I appreciate you guys tuning in. I'm Mark Sudduth in Wilmington, North Carolina. We'll see you tomorrow. Hey, the cat's here just in time. We'll see you tomorrow on Talking Weather. Thanks for joining us as always.